Now, I've said it a few times on this channel that this is one of the best times to be an independent filmmaker. What technology has brought to the table has really put the tools of the trade back into the hands of the artists. And if you look at the type of consumer technology available to us, it's really quite outstanding that we're able to make use of tools that were once only available to very high-end productions. From camera technologies to the way we're able to move our cameras with affordable gimbal systems, to wireless follow focuses, to wireless monitoring systems, all of these tools have really made it possible for us to get so much more out of the technology we have, out of the systems we have, and really stop making excuses for the way we move and interact our cameras within our scenes. So today we're going to talk about wireless monitoring, and most specifically the Hollyland Mars 400S, which Hollyland just sent me to try out. Now, I recently used this on a couple of shoots and was very impressed with its abilities. So let's take a minute now and talk about why you might actually want to consider investing in this system. Now, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to start implementing wireless monitoring on your set. First and foremost is obviously cable management. It's clear that a lot of times you need extra monitors on set. If you're shooting a commercial, it's more than likely you're going to have clients on set who are going to expect a monitor in their hand to be monitoring your shot and making sure that you're getting what it is that they want you to get for their commercial. In the case of narrative filmmaking, you have multiple departments who are all working together to try and make the shot the best shot possible. This includes hair and makeup, keeping an eye on the actors, set design, making sure that the set is all dressed properly, your lighting department, making sure that all your stands are out of frame, that there's no light leaks, no spills. And so in general, it's just a good idea to have as many monitoring options on set as possible. If you're going the traditional route and you're running cables out of your camera, this creates a bit of a workflow issue and in some cases even a safety issue. So the basic idea of just keeping your set cleaner, I think, is one of the key reasons why a lot of people choose to invest in these systems. Obviously they need monitors on set. Obviously they don't have the time or the energy to deal with the cable wrangling required to spread that out. And it also just frees up the camera, the ability to move it around a lot better. But another reason, and what I find to be the bigger reason and why I really wanted to get a wireless monitoring system, is that as you leave the realm of one-man band camera production, you start working with teams of people who not only need an eye on a monitor just to be sure that things are looking great for last looks before a take, but who during the duration of a take need the monitor to have control of the image itself. The most notable example of this is your camera assistant, who's pulling focus for you. Now sure, a lot of my viewers might not be at that level yet, they're still pulling their own focus, but as you start working with bigger cameras, bigger setups, more complicated camera movement, you need a second person on that camera pulling focus for the cinematographer. Now typically, especially in the older days, you had the camera assistant standing right next to the camera. But as you're starting to get into tighter spots and doing more complicated movement, let's say you've got the camera on a gimbal, you can't afford to have a second set of hands touching the camera. You sort of need that person scooted back. So this introduced the wireless focus system. But that still kind of left a little bit of a cramped space when that person was still relying on an onboard monitor. So the better idea is, if you're having someone pull focus remotely, to have them a step or two away from the camera and allowing them to have their own monitor to monitor just the focus, to free up space around the camera and free up space around the monitor, is going to make life a lot easier when it comes time to execute those more complicated camera movements. Now let's talk a little bit more about gimbals. Gimbals are becoming extremely popular today. I've been using them more and more often in my shoots. Now I, for one, use a lot of manual focus lenses. I don't really like autofocus. I don't like trusting autofocus to get my shots. I like to have control of the lens even when it's moving on a gimbal. And sometimes it's just too much for me to be able to do that on my own with my system. And the more you start to understand this technology and what you can do with it, the more you realize that you need multiple operators to really execute worthwhile shots using a gimbal. In a recent production I worked on, we had a gimbal operator on set who was communicating with the cinematographer, and basically all his job was to physically move the space with the gimbal. Now we had a second operator on a mimic system who was then responsible for actually moving the camera on the gimbal remotely, while a third person, the camera assistant, was in charge of focusing. And each one of these individuals needed their own monitor. Now obviously, since you're on a gimbal, you can't be running cables off of it. You need to free it up through the wireless systems. And so it's in situations like this that I found wireless monitoring to be the most valuable. Now a third reason what makes wireless monitoring so advantageous is that If you're putting the camera in a position where you can't look through the viewfinder, you can't look at the onboard monitor, you can't run your cables off of it, but you need to know what your shot looks like, how else are you going to pull this off? Now, in some cases on my sets, we've attached cameras to car hoods, we've hung them high up in ceiling rafters, we've put them in places that it wasn't possible for someone to be nearby to monitor during the duration of the take, nor was it possible for us to run a cable directly off the camera. We had to have a wireless system to make sure that the shot was what we needed it to be. So now that we understand why we would need this system to begin with and why it might be worth getting into, let's talk about what our options are. Now, Hollyland sent me this. This is the Mars 400S a couple weeks ago, and I got to make use of it on a couple of shoots, and I found it to be extremely useful for the reasons that we just discussed. Now, this retails for about 700 euros or $650 on Amazon, which may sound like a lot when you just think about that number, but when you think about what this actually is and what it does as a tool, that is an outstanding bargain for the flexibility that this gives to you and your workflow. Now, on top of that, this is a very well-built system. I was extremely impressed with the overall build quality. It's metal, it's compact, it's fairly lightweight. You've got multiple options of powering this. You can either use very affordable standard Sony NPF batteries, which just clip right into the back, or if you're running off of a V-mount system, you can get a D-tap adapter for this that simply plugs and screws in securely to the side of the module, which will let you power this all day long. It comes with both a transmitter and a receiver. They're almost identical in size and shape, and as I said, both take the standard Sony batteries and both have the option for the D-tap power input. And I think that's what I was most impressed about this system, is that it's both a consumer and a professional grade monitoring system. For instance, a lot of times you're going to be having your transmitter attached to your camera anyway. And it doesn't make sense just to be piling on all your accessories with multiple batteries. A lot of times you will just be running off of a single V-mount system, running through a D-tap splitter, powering your EVF, your onboard monitoring, and now your wireless transmitter. Now, one of the best things about the 400S system as opposed to some of the other models is that it has the SDI and HDMI input options. A lot of times you'll hear the phrase investing in gear, and I think that phrase is thrown around a little bit too readily. When I think about gear investment, I think about something that isn't just getting my money's worth out of it, but is something that I can use on other systems later on down the line. Now, it could be that right now you're shooting with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K and all you need is an HDMI input, but maybe someday you're going to be upgrading to the URSAs, or you're going to be buying an ARRI system or a RED system, or you're going to be on a shoot where you're just renting those cameras, but you want to make use of, obviously, your wireless monitoring. And so by having both SDI and HDMI, this opens up the doors for you to use this on just about any camera system on the market, which means the life expectancy of this staying in your kit is much longer than it might otherwise be. The display is bright and easy to read in sunlight, and it tells you what your signal connection strength is, it'll tell you what channel you're on, and whether or not you're receiving a video feed. Now, the batteries aren't included, but they are very cheap and easy to find off of Amazon. I'll put links to those in the description below. Out of the box, it comes with 5 antennas, so in case one gets damaged or lost, you have a replacement. Very easy to assemble, simply screw them on, and I haven't had to deal too much with the direction of them, but if you're trying to save space, if you've got a tight corner, you can fold them up to keep them out of the way, or maybe just if you want them to look a little bit sleeker. But no real hassle there as far as using the antennas and keeping these things connected. I found this system to be extremely easy to use and very reliable, easy to set up. It's really just a matter of putting on the battery and connecting the cables, flipping a switch. You wait 20 to 25 seconds and the two modules automatically sync up with each other, and they automatically find the best channel to provide the clearest image. Something else included in the box is this mount adapter, which I found to be very useful since this has just the basic screw hole on the bottom, but that might not provide the best angle for you when trying to mount this to your camera cage. You simply screw it on and attach, and it provides you with another access point where you can mount this to your cage. Another really cool thing about this system is that you're able to use mobile phones to add on additional monitors. On the back of each transmitter, there's a QR code, and when you download the Hollyland View app on your phone, whether it's Android or an iOS Apple system, you scan the QR code and it immediately turns your phone into an additional monitor, and you can connect up to 4 other phones onto this. So again, if you've got clients on set or you've got multiple departments running around who all need eyes on the frame, All they need to do at the beginning of the shoot is come up to the transmitter, give it a quick scan, and it will immediately turn their mobile device into a field monitor. Now, another great aspect to that is that the phone is going to remember this system so that every time you launch the app, as long as this system is up and running, it's going to immediately connect with the system. You don't have to be rescanning the code every single time. The app that it comes with is outstanding. It allows you to take screenshots and write notes, receiving a direct feed out of the transmitter. So let's say you're working with a cinematographer or a set designer, and they're recording the shot and they see something that they want to take care of or they have a question about it. Rather than trying to scroll back through the footage on the main monitor to point out what they want to point out, they can take a direct screenshot, write their direct notes, and come to you immediately after the take, show it to you and say, hey, during this take, this pops up. Is that something we want to take care of before the next take? The range on these is quite outstanding. It's 120 meters or 400 feet as long as you're in line of sight. I can't really think of a whole lot of things I don't like about this system. One maybe being the fact that it only came with one adapter shoe. Would be great if it came with two, but we're really picking teeth at that point. And also the fan is a little bit noticeable if you've got it right next to your microphone source. But since this thing is going to be mounted directly on your camera, I don't really know any situations that the mic is going to be so close that it would pick up the fan on this system. So all in all, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck out of these. 700 euros, 650 bucks. You're getting 5 wireless monitoring options out of it. You're getting durability, you're getting range, you're getting ease of use, and it's going to really enhance the types of shots that you're getting. So in general, I think wireless monitoring is the way to go, especially if you're trying to get into more complicated shooting scenarios where you're putting your camera in interesting places, or where you're flying it around on a gimbal and you need multiple operators helping you out. And I think that now that technology has really caught up and really made these systems affordable, there's really not a whole lot of excuse why you shouldn't be taking the time to get to know these systems and investing in them and adding them to your kit. So that's it. Thanks so much, guys. If you have any other questions about wireless monitoring or about the Mars system, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Let me know what type of shots you'd like to get, if you could put your camera anywhere and still keep eyes on the monitor. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.